This podcast is brought to you by Social Economy Europe.
Okay, hello everybody and welcome to this special episode of Social Economy Talks. Now the aim of this episode is to give us a roundup of 2020 with the important activities, publications, the events going on in the world of social economy. So we're going to try and highlight month by month the successes, the challenges, the moments that 2020 has brought us. And I'm joined by some of Social Economy Europe's team to help break down this strange and historic year. So we have Victor Meseguer, the Director of Social Economy, and we also have Dr. Ali Dunhill, who's been with us. So I would love us to be able to introduce ourselves and let's find out a bit more about each other so that the listeners can find out a bit more just before we get started on the year. So Ali, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also tell us about what's been your highlight in terms of social economy this year, but also tell us a bit about your passions and what makes you tick in general.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Really, for me, if I was describing myself, I call myself a human rights defender, and I focus on supporting children and people with disabilities. So really, I believe in inclusion for all is really my sort of banner. So my highlight really for this year, from a social economy perspective, was the release of the best practice guide on social economy for the full inclusion of people with disabilities. As you can imagine, I'm really passionate about this topic, and for social economy to release such a fantastic guide, it was just really quite humbling to be part of an organisation that has done this, that's taken the time to do it. I think my personal highlight is actually coming to Belgium, because I actually arrived in Belgium in the middle of March. And as I arrived, basically the next day, everything closed down. So I didn't take it personally, but certainly everybody has been so still friendly and supportive, and that community that we talk about, certainly within the social economy world, I really felt it since coming to Brussels. So so that's really my passions for the year.
Fantastic, thank you, Ali. And Victor, your face is quite well known around the social economy circuit, but please introduce yourself to those of our listeners who aren't sure who you are. And again, tell us about your passions to do with the social economy and your personal passions as well.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Nick, and happy to share this podcast with both of you, Ali and Nick, at this very end of the year, and after a very intense year. So indeed, I have been working at Social Economy Europe. I have been working in the secretariat of the organization since September 2014, right after not the last EU elections, but the one before. I have been working for two. Let's say I have had the pleasure of living two European elections, working in Social Economy Europe. And regarding my passions and what I like, indeed, I have to recognize that I discovered the social economy working for this organization, and I was passionate about it because I think that it deserves. First of all, it's an evident feature, a very clear feature and characteristic of our European social market economy. I mean, it's something that exists, that it's big, and that is part of our European identity. Is very much rooted in our history, in our 19th century, in the Industrial Revolution, and has survived, has adapted, and is a very dynamic reality today. And also it demonstrates that doing businesses in another way is possible, and that was very cool to discover. I mean that civil society, let's say, organized civil society, collective action, and the economy can come together. Those are not separated worlds. Can come together, and through collective action, we can change the economy. We can change our society. We can build a life project. So that was very, very cool to discover. Regarding my passions, I'm a freak of politics. I have to recognize. I studied political science, and Social Economy Europe has been a fantastic opportunity. First of all, to meet great people, to meet you guys, to meet other fantastic co-workers in the last years, but also to meet our leaders. I mean, the representatives of the social economy sector, MEPs. Both MEPs that are members of the European Parliament today and members of the former European Parliament with which we built very intense relations to defend together the interest of the social economy, to defend together social economy entrepreneurship. So to be brief, because I can, you know me guys, I can talk for ages. Thanks to social economy, to a certain extent, I have become a fan of political economy. I love international relations, and basically a part of that, I like eating and cooking. So that will be it.
All right, that's fantastic. Thank you, Victor. I think the problem with this podcast today is that we have three people that love to talk. And so what we're really trying to get across here today is this is not a webinar. Okay, we've all got our nice end of the year clothes on. We've got our nice coffees in front of us, and we just want to have a chat and really explain what good things happened this year in 2020, along with the challenges as well, because let's face it, this has been a difficult year for everyone. So let me just introduce myself quickly. So my name's Nick Clark, and I'm relatively new to Social Economy Europe. I joined in September, and I have a background in biology. So we have a very wide range of knowledge and skills in the small team that we have. And I actually then became a teacher. And so that's where I kind of decided to merge the idea of biological sustainability and ecology with the social side of things. And so when I decided to have a career change, I wanted to merge those two things and get involved in policy work and advocacy and communications. So I studied human ecology at the VUB. And then it's really when I discovered that sustainability is not just about the climate change and biodiversity issues. It's about so much more in keeping profits local, keeping local people engaged and involved and participating. That's when I discovered Social Economy Europe, and I thought this is the place for me. So I have to say a massive thank you to Social Economy Europe for getting me started, and I really appreciate it. I also want to just extend our thanks to the Social Economy Europe President, Juan Antonio Pedreño. Without his passion and his hard work during the year and his influence, we wouldn't be able to do the things that we currently are doing. And we're making waves right now, so we're really pleased. And also, I'd like to extend our thanks to the Social Economy Europe Vice Presidents as well, Jerome Sadlier, Alan Coeur, and Patricia Bussi. So thank you guys. It's really been a pleasure to work with you so far, and I look forward to working with you much more deeply in the future as well. So let's get started with the headlines. Before we go month by month and talk about what we've done and what, not necessarily what we've achieved, but what the social economy has achieved in general. Let's start with some key headlines. And of course, we can't start this podcast or this summary of the year without talking about the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic. So this was the year of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's made us suffer health issues. Our health systems have suffered. People have lost their jobs, and very sadly, people have lost their lives. And we cannot take this seriously enough. And I think we're really just understanding the seriousness of this now. I'm in the UK, and of course, we've just cancelled Christmas in the UK. So even up until a few weeks ago, really, it wasn't being taken as seriously as it needed to be. So many of the things we'll talk about today are in the context of COVID-19. We're also going to talk about the action plan for the social economy. Now, this was announced in January of 2020 in the Commission communication, which was called A Strong Social Europe for Just Transitions. So this was a really important communication. And because of this, the social economy has been mentioned in more than 20 Commission communications. So this is fantastic for our cause. We also have the Social Economy Intergroup, which we'll talk about a lot today. Now, this is a really good opportunity for civil society to have an engaged conversation with the European Parliament. We have the support of over 80 MEPs, which is absolutely brilliant. And we also have 4 events with the Social Economy Intergroup and Social Economy Europe. And the most attended of that had over 400 participants. So we are thrilled with how the things are going this year in terms of our advocacy and our policy work. We've had the Next Generation EU, which was announced on May the 27th. And we'll get into more details about this, but this is mobilizing more than 750 billion euros in order to rebuild Europe's economic and social fabric, especially post-COVID-19. So this is a really big deal. I think Victor's going to explain a little bit more about that later. We also had the Digital Road to Mannheim with the European Social Economy Summit. Now, this was launched in September, and there's going to be a monthly event all the way up until May next year, where originally the full event was going to be a 2-day event in May, and hopefully we'll be able to do it in person. But looking at the way things are going, we might have to resort to doing it online again, which is sad. And the last thing, we're going to give you the headlines, and we're going to start with a big headline here. Is that this year was the year in which Spain chaired the high-level group of member states for the social economy. Now, Toledo, a city in Spain, was appointed as the EU social economy capital, and there was a summit held there on the 4th of December recently. So I'm going to pass this on to Victor. Before we start, this is a huge piece of news, and it hasn't got enough attention yet. So our job today is to really blast this across the internet and the ether, and get the message out there. So, Victor, I'll pass on to you and tell us all about this summit.
Thank you, Nick. By the way, yes, this is like an informal conversation. I would like to say that I'm drinking my tea in a cup made by a work integration social enterprise in Sri Lanka. So they were employing 4 basically women, Tamil women, many of them trapped in sexual work. And I have selected this morning. I wanted this one. I mean, I looked for it. All right, so let's move back to Toledo, to serious things. So yeah, indeed, Nick, you're totally right. Last 4th of December, there was a summit in Toledo, organized by the Spanish government, as you said, by the Ministry of Labor and Social Economy. Actually, it's the first time in Spanish history that there is a ministry called like that, Labor and Social Economy, at the very same level, and one ministry that has this competence, that is in charge of the social economy at the state or national level. And there is a minister, Minister Yolanda Díaz, who is in charge of labor and social economy. So indeed, as you said, Spain is chairing the high-level group of member states for the social economy that was founded in Luxembourg in 2015. It has a weird name and a very it's not a super easy name to remember, which is Monitoring Committee of Luxembourg Declaration, because in 2015 6 member states signed Luxembourg Declaration to promote the social economy. At the time, if I remember well, it was France, Luxembourg, and the minister in Luxembourg was Mr. Nicolas Schmid, who today is a European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights. He was the promoter of that initiative. So Luxembourg, France, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and I think that was, and Italy. And I think that was it at that moment. So that was in 2015. They decided to create an informal group. They decided to formalize it actually some months afterwards with a sort of constitution of the group, which was proposed by the Spanish government. And they proposed to have rotating presidencies. So Luxembourg was in 2015. In 2016, I don't quite remember who did it in 2016 because they were still discussing how the group was working. In 2017, it was Spain. In 2018, it was Slovenia. In 2019, it was France. In 2020, it was Spain again. So yes, indeed, on the 4th of December, 18 member states, actually 20 member states were participating, but 18 member states signed Toledo Declaration on Social and Solidarity Economy. So we have moved from 6 member states cooperating among them and sharing good practice among them in 2015 to 18 member states in 2020. Which member states? Just a second, because I have to have a look at the list. But I will do it as quick as possible. So basically, it was, of course, Spain, represented by its minister Yolanda Díaz. Portugal, represented by State Secretary Gabriel Bastos. France, represented by State Secretary for Social Economy Olivier Grégoire. Italy, represented by Minister for Labor Nunzia Catalfo. Belgium, who didn't sign but was present in the event and was represented by the Wallonia region, Ireland, Austria, Croatia, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Germany, who didn't sign but was also present, Latvia, Bulgaria, Luxembourg, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Malta, Denmark, and Greece. Those two last countries were not present but decided to sign the declaration afterwards, which is great news also. Denmark is a country from Northern Europe, and it's great to have one country of Northern Europe also interested in promoting the social economy. So that was it, Nick. 18 countries supporting together the social economy, meeting together, deciding to be part of this committee, to exchange good practices among them, but also to lobby institutions to have a strong policies for the social economy. 18 countries asking the European Commission to develop a strong European action plan for the social economy in 2021 with a consistent budget. So an action plan that serves to inspire on the one hand, but also to invest in boosting the social economy as an essential player in building back better and fairer in what the European Union needs to do now, which is to recover from the current crisis. I mean, to recover from the crisis, but also to tackle the green and the digital transition that Europe and the rest of the world are facing, and also to fight inequalities, by the way, which are a serious issue for our societies and economies. Just something else, Portugal was elected as it was the end of the year. So Portugal and Spain will not lead anymore this group of member states because the presidencies are for 1 year. So Spain will not lead anymore this group in 2021. It will be led by Portugal. This is great news because also Portugal in some days is taking over from Germany the presidency of the Council of the European Union, colleagues, which is a very powerful position. So Portugal will be leading the work of the different ministerial councils and will be leading these key European institutions. You know that the European Union has 3 key institutions: the Commission, the Parliament, and then the Council. So Portugal will be leading that and leading also the Monitoring Committee of Luxembourg Declaration. We know that they will organize an important social economy conference in March, and basically on social economy as a creator, as a generator of quality jobs, and as a generator of social cohesion. So that's it.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that really detailed, really clear example, because I think one of these problems with especially the Toledo Declaration is we need to get the word out there, and we need people to understand what it is, who's involved, and how important it is. I mean, that's a really big deal. 18 member states signing the declaration is a fantastic show of solidarity for the cause. So I'm really happy we're going to get that message out there. And anybody watching this and listening, please share that news. Get that out there. We want to shout from the hilltops about this because it's a fantastic event. So let's move on. We're going to start now with going month by month, more or less, and find out what were the major events and what happened in the world of social economy, especially with regard to our organization, Social Economy Europe. So I'm going to kick off with January, and then I'll pass on to my other colleagues. So in January was when we really we had the first meeting to renew the Social Economy Intergroup. Now this event took place at the European Parliament in Brussels. And the idea was, remember, this has the support of 80 MEPs. It's a really, really good way, as I mentioned, to kind of bridge the gap between civil society and the European Parliament to help us get our message across. And what we did was we were able to appoint the co-chairs and vice chairs of the Economy Intergroup, Social Economy Intergroup. And that included Patricia Toya of S&D, Sven Giegold of the Greens and EFA, Leopold Lopez of EPP, Monica Semedo of Renew, and Manon Aubrey, okay, so of GUE and GEL. So this is a fantastic group of co-chairs. They've given us so much support in all of our events over the year. I've got to know their names and faces very well by making the communications and promoting their attendance to our events. And we also appointed MEPs Leszek Miller of S&D and Jordi Cañas of Renew as vice chairs as well. So this is fantastic. And Victor, I'm reluctant to give you the word because we are limited time. But can you just tell us quickly about how this intergroup came about?
You're very right in being reluctant to give me the word, Nick. Yeah. I mean, you have shared all the relevant information already. Indeed, those are the leaders that were elected, and of course, after every European election, there is a huge campaign. The European Parliament has 27 intergroups in total. And we have one of those, the social economy community, not social economy Europe, but every social economy actor can be proud of having an intergroup and a direct dialogue with MEPs. There is another intergroup on disability, on SMEs, on trade unions, on sky and space. So very important topics are giving an intergroup to have this permanent dialogue with MEPs. A little to add, we did right after the elections, which were in May 2019. We published a manifesto. We did a big event in November in the European Parliament. And we basically, what you said, we mobilized the support from more than 80, I think that it's around 85 MEPs to create this intergroup. And the political parties also supported us in the Conference of Presidents. If I remember correctly, the Social Democrats, the GUE NGL, the Greens supported the renewal of the social economy intergroup. And also there was a strong support for this intergroup from the Renew Europe group. That's it from my side.
That's fantastic. So a really important aspect of the intergroups is that it's cross-party communication as well. So this is it's a really big deal, and we're really proud of it, and we're really happy to have that. So moving on quickly through the year. So Ali, can you take us into March, this dreaded month? I think we'd all rather forget what happened in March. I remember when entering my lounge on the first day of lockdown and wondering if we'd ever be let out. We had it a little bit easier than some other countries like Spain and Italy, for example, in the first lockdown. But I have to say, just before I pass on to Ali, for me, this was one of the moments of the year that I felt the most community that I had in a long time. I'm not sure it was like where you guys are listening, but in Brussels, at least, we were clapping the healthcare workers every day at 8 p.m. And all of our neighbors used to come to their windows. And it was a real moment of sharing this same feeling, this feeling of solidarity to help give whatever support we could to the people who were really putting their lives on the line during this unprecedented crisis and this pandemic. So huge thank you to all of the health workers for this year. They're still working hard. They're still putting themselves on the line. And it's incredibly brave, and we have to make sure that we recognize that. So Ali, I'm going to pass on to you. Take us into March and tell us what happened in the beginning of March.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Well, I actually came to Brussels in March, and I arrived on a Wednesday. And I remember just exactly what you said. I remember hearing this really loud round of applause coming from outside. And there was no information about it. I was just in a temporary accommodation. And I just remember, wow, what this is about, going on the internet and finding out, and then realizing, it was an acknowledgement, a celebration, a thank you, to the health workers in Belgium. And it really did feel that there was a big community. So I joined in, I started clapping that night, but then I joined in, each Wednesday I was preparing, going out for 8 o'clock. So I think that you're right. So for me, March has got really fond memories as well, even though this was the major lockdown started. So from a Social Economy Europe perspective, though, in March, we welcomed the recognition of the social economy in the industrial and SME strategies and in the circular economy for action plan, and a pillar to build an economy that works for people and the planet, which I think is, those combinations are really important. We at Social Economy Europe were very satisfied with the European Commission, the SME and industrial strategies and circular economy action plan. It actually aims to ensure the EU leads the twin transitions towards climate neutrality and digitalization, which have recognized the strategic role of the 2.8 million social economy enterprises and organizations to achieve a diverse and competitive economy that works for, again, people and the planet. Also, Social Economy Europe welcomed the Circular Economy Action Plan, which recognises, I quote from the document, the potential of the social economy, which is a pioneer in job creation linked to the circular economy, will be further leveraged by the mutual benefits of supporting the green transition and strengthening social inclusion, notably under the action plan to implement the European Pillar of Social Rights. So a great, rally in there. But as Nick mentioned before, this was the moment that the pandemic struck. So we felt we'd like to do something to raise awareness of the way the social economy was succeeding in helping people affected by the pandemic all over Europe. So we released an open letter, and it was sent to a range of leaders in the European Union and was received with great success. So over to you for April, Victor.
Thank you, Ali. Yes, indeed, as you were saying, we released a open letter that was called. We were in the middle of the lockdown. The lockdown started in early March in many European countries. Before that, we were hearing a bit before, actually, in Italy. Around the 8th of March in Spain, for instance, which was I very well remember it because I was here. I was on a trip for a meeting in Navarra, actually, and a bit later, just some days later, in Belgium, for instance. So we were in the middle of the lockdown. Most businesses were closed. We were very, now we have a bit more of information about COVID, but at that time there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear, actually, also about the duration of this virus and the impact that this virus could have on the economy and society. So as you said, in April, we had a meeting with all members, and we decided that we need to take action to support the social economy sector in the middle of these very uncertain times. So we really delivered an unprecedented crisis. If I remember well, it was called an unprecedented crisis overcoming COVID-19, time for solidarity, an unprecedented crisis that requires an unprecedented EU response to restore economic and social progress. We basically remember institutions, as you said, that social economy operates in key sectors and was doing a key job for instance, by offering healthcare for all, the mutual and healthcare institutions, by giving finance to enterprises in huge need because they were closed and they needed some liquidity to keep up with the business. So ethical banks, cooperative banks were basically supporting the members, SMEs, social economy business to keep on and have some liquidity to pay the rent through this lockdown. Mutual and cooperative insurers, industrial players that were making PPT, isn't it? Is PPE, protective material. For instance, by the way, Mondragon, which is the biggest industrial cooperative in the world, most probably, which is located in northern Spain, had an agreement with the Spanish government at this very time to make 60 million masks. So they have one of the companies of the group was specialized in making medical material, but not masks, actually, permanent medical material. And they decided to adapt, to buy the machines at a moment where we were not wearing masks in the street because there was no offer of masks. There were not sufficient masks for everybody. This company decided to sign an agreement and make 60 million masks to cover the whole Spanish population. And like that, many other social economy enterprises. Of course, we were also having a key role in agriculture. You know that the backbone, let's say, in Europe of agriculture is agricultural co-ops and community agriculture. So agricultures were making their utmost to produce the food that was still needed, going out where everyone was at home, they were going out and picking the fruits, picking the vegetables, and making sure that they will arrive to the whole European and world population. And same goes for for retailers, social economy retailers, etc., etc. So we wanted to tell that message. The social economy is playing a key role. We are in the front line. We are in the front line of the caring economy, and that's quite obvious. Social services in Europe are mostly provided by social economy organizations, elderly center homes, elderly homes for the elderly, hospitals, schools. Most of these institutions where they are managed by an external actor, which is not the public sector, they are managed by a social economy, non-for-profit or limited profitability actor. And we were doing a very important mission in that. And we wanted to tell that. And we also wanted to tell that we were doing an important job to maintain jobs, to keep people at risk of social inclusion in the economic circuit, because yesterday with Nick, we participated in an event on the impact of COVID-19 crisis on the social economy. Actually, the social economy in Spain, there was a survey in Spain. Most of the respondents have not only not destroyed employment, they have created new jobs in this year. That's not normal. I mean, that's not what other enterprises do. And throughout the crisis, I have had the opportunity to talk with a lot, for instance, of WISEs, and they all told the same thing. The beginning was difficult. It was a shock, but we decided to keep the jobs. Okay, so sorry, because as I said before, I talk a lot. Let's go back to the thing. We send a letter to EU leaders. When we say EU leaders, we mean the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, the President of the European Parliament, David Sassoli, in copy to the President of the ESC, the President of the Committee of the Regions, and to other relevant European commissioners, such as Nicola Schmidt, Vice President Vladis Dombrovskis, and basically that was it. And the letter has had these two parts. First of all, again, we are in the first line, and second message, this is terrible. We are living through a shock, and this shock needs a response of the European Union. And so let's go back a bit, guys, because that's super interesting. There was a huge civil society mobilization to ask the European Union. The European Union was a bit slow at the beginning in February to react to the crisis. Then they accelerated with, for instance, unemployment schemes, sure. But then we didn't know what was going to happen. And some countries, you know that the European Union is by definition asymmetric. Some countries can resist those crises because they have a strong economy, they have a low deficit, they have savings, they have the capacity to resist, but others didn't. And when we say countries, we are saying individuals, we are saying enterprises too, we are saying organizations. So together with many other civil society organizations, Business Europe did just the same. We said we need an unprecedented intervention of the European Union. To save our economies, to invest in our economies, and to make sure that we can survive, overcome this crisis, and then build back better. And to build back better, and we already said that, the social economy will be a key component. The future of the caring economy, the social economy has things to say. The future of reindustrializing our European Union, it has to be done, a part of it will be done through collective entrepreneurship. It will not be done by individuals alone. It will be done by communities that want to take over the big company in the local community which is closing, or that want to have a future by funding together a company. The same goes for the green transition, from the energy transition, and also very important because we are talking about building back better. So we are talking about an economy which is sustainable, which is digital, but also about an economy that leaves no one behind. Because climate change is a terrible challenge and something that we really need to tackle through collective action. Indeed, digitalization is unavoidable, but indeed also inequalities are like bad cholesterol. It's something that doesn't help ours. I mean, we are not healthy. Our societies, our democracies, our economies, and the International Monetary Fund has said this in the last years, are not healthy with inequality. So if we are going to rebuild, we need to make sure that inequality is attacked, climate change is attacked, and we really build back better. And that's it. We had a very positive reply. Charles Michel replied to the letter was signed by our president, by Juan Antonio Pedreño. The president of the European Council was one of the first in replying to Juan Antonio and saying that they were already planning together with all member states to build a strong reply. We also had a very good reply from Vice President Vladis Dombrovskis, and Commissioner Nicola Schmidt automatically sent out a letter to all ministers of employment and of labor to say we need to protect social economy enterprises. They are the backbone of our social cohesion. They are an important player. We need to ensure that any program to support enterprise and organization that is out there is also accessible for social economy enterprises. Something that today is a bit more clear. We have achieved a lot, but at the beginning wasn't that clear. Many associations were excluded from support, etc., etc. So that's it, guys. That was the mission of the letter, and I think that it was a success.
What a massive success. That's fantastic. I love the passion with which you say it as well. It keeps me on the edge of my seat just listening to you. It's fantastic. So straight after that letter, we then made a video, which was basically the Social Economy Europe members had a chance to raise their voice through this video and send a message of solidarity and hope to all social economy enterprises and organizations, their members, their workers, and to all citizens. And it was something that we needed to do, and it was timely and really important. You can actually find the video in the description of this podcast. And that goes for anything that we talk about today, the Toledo Declaration, any of the important files or things that we talk about today. You can find them listed in the description. And that's what this podcast is about. It's getting this information out to you in one kind of, hopefully condensed, we'll try and keep it under an hour, sort of innovative podcast. Now, we didn't just make a video. We wanted to find out from you and from people how we can actually do things better. And so Ali is going to tell us about a survey now that we did shortly after. So Ali, I'll pass over to you.
Thanks, Nick. So in April, in order to effectively hear your thoughts and opinions, we released a survey and asked for your input to learn your concrete needs and demands. We called it Help Us to Help You. So EU policymakers needed to know how social economy actors are living the current crisis and to learn from them. We wanted to ensure that the European Union could support social economy enterprises and organisations in cooperation with member states, to overcome this crisis. The short survey was also available in English, French, Italian, Polish, and Spanish. So we were invited by the European Commission to produce this survey, and it was circulated through a range of different channels. 273 European and 1 Turkish social economy actor completed the questionnaire, the survey, producing a picture of the impact of COVID-19 on the social economy, needs and opinions on post-crisis period, as well as important country differences. Although not representative of the whole of the social economy reality in Europe, but a really good range of information was gathered in that survey. So the final results were gathered together in a report available on the website. And this gives a really clear picture on the situation of the social economy sector and its needs, really in order to achieve better recognition and to support on a public administrational level. We wish to thank all the social economy actors that invested part of their time to reply to this survey at such a critical moment, as we realise everyone was so busy at that time. And we also want to thank the partners, members, governments that disseminated the survey. So thank you to everyone who supported this process.
That's absolutely fantastic. I mean, all of the work that we do is really getting the opinions and the voices of the real experts. And they're the people that help us do what we do. So again, a massive thank you. Now we're going to move into June. So we're moving swiftly on, but June was an incredibly busy month for the social economy and for us. Many things happened, and the months previous were involved in really getting ready for that. And we kicked off June with our most successful online public hearing ever. And that had over 400 participants listening to our public hearing. Now, this was actually a social economy intergroup public hearing co-organized with us. And the title of it was Co-Designing the European Action Plan for the Social Economy as a Leverage for the Economic and Social Recovery of Europe. So in June, a very timely, important subject at that moment. So we had 23 high-level speakers, as I mentioned, over 400 participants, and the discussions were centered around the social economy experiences and responses to COVID-19, of which there are many. We also talked about the contributions that the social economy can bring to economic and social recovery. It was closely related with the next generation EU, which we'll go into more detail about, and also in line with the calls for information for the European Action Plan for the Social Economy. So as I mentioned at the beginning, many of our events, our publications, our discussions are involved with this action plan, which is coming out next year, incredibly important and one of our major highlights. So that was really important. Victor, I'm going to pass on to you because we also had some new members, I believe, in June. So can you tell us about all of those guys?
Yes, indeed. On this very same day, actually, on the 2nd of June, the very same day that the Intergroup had its big public events, we had Social Economy Europe General Assembly. And we welcomed 3 new members, which is not something super usual. 3 new members in 1 year, and 3 new members in a single General Assembly I think, that demonstrate the success that the social economy movement, not Social Economy Europe in particular, but the Social Economy Europe movement is achieving, and the attractiveness of it. So indeed, we had these 3 new members, which were basically Eurodiaconia, representing providers of Christian-oriented and providers of non-for-profit social services, but also with a lot of actors that are creating a lot of work integration social enterprises in many parts of Europe, in Scotland, but all over the place. So those actors basically work in cooperation with the public sector to ensure that no one is left behind, providing services. And then they are also going this step beyond providing services, offering a job opportunity, offering a work integration proposal. And we also welcome the European Microfinance Network, representing microfinance institutions, supporting businesses, supporting a lot of social economy startups across the European Union, and also supporting individual entrepreneurs, self-entrepreneurs, people with low resources wanting to make a small investment and that are often excluded from the financial system. And thanks to microfinance, they can make their dreams true. They can start a business. They can buy a new whatever. So a very important institution. And we also welcome IPSE, the Institute for Social Protection in Europe. Basically, it is formed by non-for-profit social protection providers, such as the French mutuals, the Portuguese mutuals, Belgian, but also paritarian institutions of social protection. So the social economy, the non-for-profit social economy, being a key actor in providing social services and providing social protection in our European Union.
That's amazing. So 3 new members, that's fantastic. Welcome to those members. They've already been an important part of what we do in the remainder of 2020, and they will continue to be. So really warm welcome to those members. So thank you. Victor, I'll stick with you. Can you just tell us about the annual report that came out in June as well?
Yes, so in the very same General Assembly, we approved our annual report 2019, and 2019 was a very exciting year for us. Again, it was the year of the European elections. So we did two, for instance, in the campaign that we were talking before, for the renewal of the Social Economy Intergroup, in which we cooperated with all our members, but also with other organizations, with other social economy organizations as the ESIS, Euclid, Cooperatives Europe, RIPES Europe, Reuse. So in that framework, we organized 2 social economy intergroup events that were attended by more than 320 people. And at that time, it was physical events, guys. We might not remember that, but that was the case in 2019. We were touching each other.
A physical event.
What's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you talking about a webinar? Yeah. So we have more than 27 meetings with members of the European Parliament to convince them about the importance of supporting the social economy, of having this intergroup, of co-designing with the European Commission the social economy action plan. It was also very exciting for me because in October we hired a new staff member, our colleague Jessica Fiorelli, that left Social Economy Europe some months ago, but that has been an absolute protagonist of many of our achievements in the last months. We organized 2 general assemblies. We participated in 1 meeting of the European Commission expert group on social economy and social enterprises in cooperation with the Commission and with some partners. We organized 3 national conferences on buying for social impact. So 3 national conferences in Paris, so in France, in Dublin, in Ireland, and in Latvia, in Riga. To promote socially responsible public procurement, to say to public authorities, when you are buying things, you can actually do more than buying the service of the product that you are wishing. You can achieve a social or an environmental objective by contracting with some responsible companies that offer quality jobs, that include people with disabilities or other people at risk of social exclusion, etc., etc. And we also started to have quite a boom in our social networks that Nick has actually consolidated. So 2020 has been a year of consolidation. We started being quite successful in the social networks, but this year, 2020 has been a year of consolidation.
That's great. And all you've just said about public procurement really brings me onto the next point, which was a publication from the European Commission, where we actually contributed with some good practices on public procurement. And so the title was, it was part of the hashtag #WeBuySocialEU. It was really important. It was making socially responsible public procurement work, 71 good practice cases. So a really important thing. I'm just going to read a quick quote from the publication. It's very interesting. And it says, public buyers are major investors in Europe, spending 14% of the EU's GDP. By using their purchasing power to opt for good services that deliver positive social outcomes, they can make a major contribution to sustainable development. Increasingly, the need to address all three pillars of sustainability, social, environmental, and economic, in procurement is recognized by both public and private sectors. Now, that's music to my ears, because I always love hearing about sustainability in terms of these three pillars, especially the social and environmental. I think it's fantastic bringing all those things together. So a huge thank you again to all of those organizations that helped us bring together good practices for that. So that's the end of June. Ali, I'm going to pass on to you for July. Can you tell us what happened next?
Yeah, sure. Well, it doesn't seem to be getting any quieter, does it, through the year? We seem to be getting busier. It's like a snowball. We're sort of, building up and building up. So on the 7th of July, we collaborated on an event that took place online, as most events did this year. The European Recovery Plan, Next Generation EU, Opportunities for Enterprises and Organizations. So along with the Regional Organization of Social Economy Europe, President Juan Antonio Pedrino, from the Union of Worker Corporations of the region of Murcia, and in cooperation with Social Economy Europe and the regional government. So it's a really, a really good collaboration, which really, for me, is what social economy does so well, working in partnership, working in collaboration. And again, this event was held in Spanish and English with simultaneous interpretation. And it really explored the opportunities and future plans to support all forms of enterprises, and particularly social economy enterprises and organizations. A few days later, on the 9th of July, the OECD organised an event on social economy as a driver of local and regional development. The event included presentations by the representatives of the French government and the Polish government, as well as the governments of Navarra and the city of Torres Vedras in Portugal. The Secretary General of the European Network of Cities and Regions for the Social Economy, Reves, Luigi Marginetti, I apologise for all my pronunciations of names, also participated in the event alongside the EU Commission and OECD officials. The event also served to present the very interesting OECD paper on regional strategies for the social economy, with examples from France, Spain, Sweden, and Poland. And again, sharing these good practices, which that is done so well. And also on the 10th of July was the United Nations Task Force on Social and Solidarity Economy, which is a virtual event. The title, What Role for the Social and Solidarity Economy in the Post-COVID-19 Crisis Recovery? So again, a busy month.
Great, thank you. And I think, Victor, can you tell us about another OECD paper that also came out?
Yes, actually on the 30th of June, the OECD also published the paper Social Economy and the COVID-19 Crisis, Current and Future Roles. So again, exploring this role of the social economy. What is the social economy, and what is concretely its potential to build back better? Just to say a word, and this is like symbolic. International institutions in 2020. It's not something from 2020. It builds on a history. But 2020 has crystallized a lot of the growing interest also of international institutions for the social economy. And the OECD actually this year, I think that they have published at least 4 very important papers exploring the potential of social economy.
That's great. That's great. I'm going to stick with you now because we're going to skip August and move straight into September. And this is where me and Ali really have a bit more expertise, because we were really involved in these areas. But just before we arrived, Social Economy Europe produced a position paper on next generation EU. So can you just give us a couple more details?
Yes, so actually, guys, as you maybe know, I am sure you know, in July there was this infinite European Council meeting. This European Council meeting that started for a couple of days and finally was almost 5 days of non-stop meeting between EU leaders to agree on the recovery plan for Europe. The Commission proposed the Next Generation EU program for the recovery of the European Union in May, and in July they met to find an agreement. It was an infinite meeting, never-ending story. But at the end of it, there was some positive news. There was an agreement on a over 700 billion euros recovery plan for our European Union, which was quite relevant. So we knew that in September, we knew that the European Union was going to have a very consistent reply, both through the MFF, which is the European budget 2021-2027, the European budget for that period of time, but also with a specific, on top of that, and that is very new, it has never happened, a specific recovery plan, and actually historic in many senses, also in the way the Commission collects the money to do this recovery effort. And we said, yeah, but now we need to pass from the philosophy to the reality. How are we going to implement this? And what is going to be its effect on social economy, enterprises, and organizations? Because actually, colleagues, we have Europe as a whole has 3 years to spend a lot of money, to spend over 750 billion euros to recover and to build back better. And that's quite of a challenge. 3 years for such a historic expenditure that aims at transforming, at recovering and transforming our economies is quite of a challenge. And we started saying, and what's the role of the social economy in all this? So basically, we issued our position. We recognize, we acknowledge that this agreement between EU leaders was historic, and we very much welcomed it, which is step number one. Step number two, how are we going to support the social economy as a leverage for the recovery? And for that, what we basically said is, look, putting the word social economy in the legislation is not enough. We did it for the Juncker Plan, for the European Fund for Strategic Investments, known by most people as Juncker Plan, which was a very big, very important investment plan in the previous EU mandate. But actually, although social economy represents almost 8% of the GDP and 6% of all enterprise in the European Union, we represented less than 2% of the total investments. Because there are obstacles, because our enterprises in many cases are small and medium or even micro enterprises. However, we have a lot to say in our recovery effort, isn't it? So how do we make sure that we are not excluded from that? And we basically wanted to kickstart this conversation, knowing that this program will be highly decentralized. It will not be managed from Brussels. It will be managed from the capitals, and maybe in some highly decentralized countries from the regions. We basically wanted to spread the word about our members, to call our members to action, mobilize yourself at national level. We need your action at national level to make sure that social economy is in the recovery and resilience plans of every country, of every European member state. And secondly, also a message to the European Union. A lot of public expenditure in 3 years. What if we apply some of the philosophical, some of the elements of socially responsible public procurement that are being a success currently, actually now, no? What if this public expenditure incorporates social and environmental considerations? So, okay, we are going to give you money, you private actor, because we need private investments, but you have to be a responsible private actor. You have to pay good salaries, good wages. You have to be inclusive. You have to offer gender equality in your workplace. So basically, that's the fight, and it's still a fight. A lot of money is going to be spent, a lot of it in the public sector, a lot of it in the private sector. We need to ensure that this is for everyone, not only for the social economy, of course. This is for the whole economy. But we need to ensure that there is some reciprocity. If taxpayers' money is going to be invested in enterprises, we need to ensure that these enterprises act accordingly and have a social commitment and are responsible enterprises. And of course, we are very confident of social economy enterprises being leaders in responsibility, in social engagement, social commitment, equality, because it is in our DNA.
That's amazing. Yeah, it really fits with the values of the social economy movement, and super important words. So thank you for that. So we also want to say a massive congratulations to our Vice President, Alan Kerr, who was elected as President of the European Economic and Social Committee, section for the Single Market, Production and Consumption. Quite a mouthful, that one, but a very important position. And congratulations, Alan, for that. So well done. And then again in September, we were treated to the Digital Mont Blanc meetings. So our friends, SSE International Forum, they transformed their normal biennial conference and actually made a series of meetings every Thursday in September and on October the 1st. And these were a series of webinars on social and solidarity economy resources in the context of global mutation. So again, a really important thing. And now you've probably heard of what we're going to talk about next. I'm going to pass over to Ali, who's going to talk about the Digital Road to Mannheim events. Now, this has been a highlight of my time at the at Social Economy Europe since it started the first month I arrived. Ali, tell us what this is all about.
Okay, thanks, Nick. I actually was also really excited about this, especially, watching the first one, I got really interested in how the whole process was managed and how they brought everyone together. So the Digital Roadmap to Mannheim EU Social Economy Summit basically started from September this year and goes on till April next year. It's in close cooperation with the European Commission and obviously with the city of Mannheim. And they've been holding these online events, which really tackle specific areas of the social economy and prepare for the main UC's conference, which is the 26th and 27th of May next year. So the Digital Road to Mannheim consists of eight fully digitized events, which are diverse and certainly interactive. I know Victor likes the mindfulness at the beginning of each of those events. And if you are interested, please, there are more details available. But each roadmap event focuses on a specific topic and aims at connecting different social economy actors in Europe in an interactive format and presenting best practices in interactive sessions. And I think the interaction of these sessions is really good. So September was about new challenges, new innovations, new solidarities. October was about leaving no one behind, and it was a really, again, for me, very, very great event on topic for me. December, health issues and social protection. Now, January the 28th is going to be about the digital education and training. February the 25th is towards ecological transition. March the 25th is sustainable consumption and the circular economy. And April the 29th, which I really am particularly interested in, is the partnerships for maximizing social impact, just bringing everyone together. How can we partner? How can we maximize this impact? And also additionally, Social Economy Europe and other civil society organizations released a joint statement in this month, which was about Build Back Better, joint civil society. And it stated that civil society alliances are calling for the transformation of the economy and trade system for a just and sustainable recovery. And I think that just and sustainable recovery is really important in everything we've actually talked about already on this discussion.
I couldn't agree more, Ali. I think that's really where the social economy comes into its own. I mean, these transitions are going to happen. The green transition is going to happen. The digital transition is going to happen. But if we're going to leave no one behind, I'm adamant that we cannot stick with the same status quo of these huge organizations, these huge private companies that don't care about anything except for getting the job done by cutting corners and making as much profit as possible. The social economy is the opposite of that. We get the job done, but we include people first before profit. We include training, we include democratic governance, and that we reinvestment of profits. So I think it's really important. I also just want to mirror what you were saying about the topics that come up in the Digital Road to Mannheim events. They really mirror the priorities of the social economy in general. And it's really, I'm really looking forward to the future events of that as well. So I'm going to give a quick word to our communications. So you guys are listening currently to and watching for the first time our podcast. Now, this was an initiative that we started in September. We've had 3 episodes so far. This is the 4th episode. In fact, Victor was featured on the first episode, which was on basically trying to understand what the social economy is. I think that's more or less the role that I play right now in Social Economy Europe, is really trying to simplify the messages of quite a complex environment, if you think about it, in terms of the social economy. There's many different legal forms. It can be quite confusing for some people. And if the general public don't understand what's going on, how are policymakers supposed to? I mean, they have so much information coming their way. I think our job is to really clarify that message and distribute it as far as possible. So that's what we've been doing. Now, the second episode was about the green transition, and that was fantastic. The third episode was about migration, migrant entrepreneurship, and the 4th episode is today. And in fact, Ali is going to be involved in the 5th episode, which is going to be talking about our best practice guide that Ali will explain to us in a minute. So I won't go into too much detail about that. So on top of the podcast, we also have been working on blogs. Both Ali and I have been writing blogs, and we both have a background in education. And I think this really comes forth in the way we want to simplify these messages and get them out there. So I really encourage you to read the blogs and listen to the other episodes of the podcast, which you can find in the description. So Ali, moving straight back to you, we're going to go into October now. So can you kick us off with October?
I certainly can. So we seem to be going through the year quite quickly now. So October, the new technologies and digitization, opportunities and challenges for the social economy and social enterprises. So digitization has been and continues to be a priority for the EU. The Commission published a study on the 6th of October exploring whether, why, how, and to what extent the integration of digital technologies affects the design and delivery of new and or better social and societal impacts by social economy enterprises and organisations. And a number of social economy initiatives in 4 EU countries, that was Greece, Italy, the Netherlands and the UK, unfortunately soon not to be in the EU for the UK, are identified and interviewed in the publication. So these 4 main policy areas identified really as a means for the social economy to further develop new technologies and digitalization. So the first one is access to resources for research and innovation, market and revenue streams. The second one is education and training to improve the employees, employers and users' digital skills. Number 3, promotion of collaboration between social economy enterprises and organizations, as well as with stakeholders, traditional businesses, universities, public authorities, etc. And number 4, harmonization of legal definitions across EU, adapted regulations to emerging technologies, platforms and sectors. So the study puts a spotlight on the need for industrial innovation and digitalization policies to be designed, taking the social economy into account and really going beyond the traditional businesses.
That's great, really interesting. Victor, I'm going to pass on to you quickly just to mention the GSEF, Global Virtual Forum.
So the GSF is the Global Social Economy Forum. It has a very powerful name, let's say. It's basically an alliance of cities and regions, public authorities at global level, and very much promoted by the city of Seoul in South Korea. So cities and regions working together on promoting social economy as a leverage for local development and for local development for all. So actually this year we were expecting to have the Global Social Economy Forum, the physical one, the big one. The last one was in Bilbao, a very important city for the social economy, the heart, one of the hearts of the Basque Country, which is one of the heart of the Spanish social economy movement and cooperative movement. Basically thanks to the existence of Mondragon, these very large work cooperatives. So the last one was in Bilbao, and this 2020, we were expecting to have the Global Social Economy Forum in Mexico City, in the other side of the Atlantic, in that beautiful and very important, massive city that has a lot of challenges and that wants to transform itself, and that has a very interesting leadership, by the way, too. and that wants to transform itself thanks to the social economy. That was not possible, so the colleagues of GISEF decided to organize a virtual forum for a whole week, and we had a pleasure. Both the president, myself, but also other members of Social Economy Europe, our member FEBEA, the European Microfinance Network, I believe, and many other members of Social Economy Europe had the pleasure to contribute to this virtual edition. And we really hope that in 2021, we will be able to go to Mexico. One of the first countries in the world, by the way, Mexico, in having a social economy law, and a country that right now is doing a lot that forgot about a bit about the social economy in the last years, but right now is doing a lot, both at national level, but fundamentally at local level, to promote social economy initiatives and social economy entrepreneurship.
That's great. I mean, that's what it's all about, really, a kind of top-down, bottom-up approach, right? You have to have grassroots, you have to have organizations working at local level, and that's what really, really changes everything.
I really invite you, Nick, as you are a scientist, as you are specialized in biology and human ecology, I really invite you to have a look at the mayor of Mexico. I think that she's the first female woman in leading Mexico City, which is a monster city, by the way, and she's a scientist too. I think that she's also specialized, if I'm not wrong, in human ecology, and changing that city that is a major polluter, but also has very serious inequality issues and social cohesion issues, is her main objective. And she's doing very interesting stuff.
Well, that's fascinating. I'll definitely check that out. Can't wait. We're actually going to stick with you, Victor, for a second. And I wonder if you could explain to us about the very important Pact for Skills that came up in November.
Yeah, so on the 30th of November, it was 30th of October, I think. We had the 30th of October, so right before November. We had a high-level meeting with Commissioner Nicola Schmid. So basically, that's important. The European Commission decided to put the social economy among the 14 industrial ecosystems for the recovery of Europe. So the Commission said that social economy and proximity are a fundamental industrial ecosystem to rebuild our economies and for the future of Europe, basically. We have confidence in the potential of the social economy movement, which is, of course, we are honored to hear that they share our vision for the future, that the European Commission shares our vision. On that basis, the Commission decided to launch the Pact for Skills. We are talking all the time about digital and green transition, but those transitions need to be led by people like the three of us. And to do that, we might need some upskilling and some reskilling. To do that successfully, to ensure that Europe can have startups, let's recognize that right now, most of the big technological companies are in Silicon Valley and in China. We have some in Europe, like SAP in Germany, but just some of them. We don't have very big players here. And maybe actually our model is neither the Chinese model, neither the American model. Maybe our model is platform cooperativism and social economy startups. I really hope so, because that's for the good, for redistribution and a platform economy at the service of people. But going back to Pact for Skills, we need to be accompanied. There is a major investment in the recovery effort. The European Commission plans to invest a lot in upskilling and reskilling, in cooperation, of course, with member states, but also with cities and regions, which many times have the competence, are the ones responsible for doing that. And the Commission wanted to have a meeting with the social economy ecosystem to check out how's the social economy doing, what are our needs, what are our what are we doing, and what are our the training centers that we have, the universities that we hire, how we are facing this, and how are we investing in this. Social Economy Europe participated in the meeting. We were represented by our Vice President, Patrizia Bussi, who is also Secretary General of MCE. Many other colleagues participated in that meeting. Mondragon, Director of Public Affairs, our colleague Inigo Albizuri, who is also President of CICOPA, the International Organization of Industrial and Service Cooperatives. Reuse was there, represented by its director, Michael Len. Euclid was there, represented by its director, Susan Wisques. And many other, the regional government of Navarra was also there, and many other colleagues of the social economy movement. it was an important meeting right before the launch of the Pact for Skills initiative by the European Commission, who was in November. And right now what we have is what we have is an invitation to join for all social economy actors to join this Pact for Skills, and also to develop an own strategy for the upskilling and reskilling of the social economy. So we are very conscious of that invitation. Social Economy Europe will try to form a partnership, is working in building a partnership to join this Pact for Skills, not alone, not individually, not only individually, but together with all our members and partners. And hopefully with some European support, build to strengthen the skills of social economy employees and social economy entrepreneurs, because we are different than others. Our employees, in many cases, are also the owners of the companies. So that is something that needs to be taken into account. They also need managerial competences, managerial skills, and we also need to train many employees that are currently working in traditional enterprises, but that are thinking already their enterprise is closing because of the crisis, and they are thinking to collectively take over the activity and continue with the economic activity and continue maintaining their jobs. And these people, and this is happening a lot right now in the European Union, many businesses are being transferred to their employees under a cooperative form or other social economy forms. We need to train these people because they are doing a transition from employees to employees and owners of their business.
Wow, fantastic! Really, really important Pact for Skills, and training is and upskilling, like you said, is really, really important going forward, especially to reduce inequalities in terms of digitalization as well. I think that's hugely important. So fantastic. Now we're going to move on to November. I'm conscious of the time because I know that people don't want to be listening for too long. But if you're still with us, thank you very much. Now, we're getting really close to the end of the year now in November. Now, Social Economy Europe had an absolutely crazy November. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. We really enjoyed it. We were quite tired at the end of it. And of course, now at the end of the year, I think we're all feeling the effects of 2020. But on the 10th of November, we had a European Parliament Intergroup event. It was our second most successful event ever, with over 300 people in attendance for the whole thing, which was fantastic. And again, this was trying to really show the social economy's vision for a green and fair transition. So again, fair is the key word here. The green transition is happening anyway, but it can happen in a much more fair way through the business model and the economic model of the social economy. So we touched upon in detail ideas of an energy transition from citizen-led production of renewable energies from res co-ops, the sustainable and affordable housing and the renovation wave. We looked at the circular economy and how we can really keep the resources in circulation rather than actually taking them from the ground in this linear economy, using them and discarding them later on. I'm very passionate about that topic. Then we had sustainable and inclusive finance. Now, Victor's already mentioned this, but cooperative banks, finances, mutuals, microfinances, and credit unions are among the leaders in this sustainable financing movement. Really important. And we need to get the message to policymakers and lawmakers to make that more achievable for the social economy. And then also the sustainable food production and consumption systems. So it was a fantastic event. You can find the full video in the description. There's also some sections of the event split up in videos. And really importantly, you can get a full detailed report, which is also in the description. Okay, so really recommend checking that out. We also had another Social Economy Intergroup event in November. Ali, I'm going to pass on to you since it's about the inclusion of people, and that's your real area of expertise.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Yeah, on the 17th of November, there was a Social Economy Intergroup Ergo Network and Social Economy Europe event, which was organised online. It was called the Social Economy and Roma Inclusion in Times of COVID, a contribution to Europe's action plan on social economy. And it really brought together some fantastic national practitioners who really presented really well about how how they meet the needs during that situation, during the COVID pandemic, and what they did, how they did it in partnership, in collaboration. And it was basically there was the practitioners, there was European civil society organisations, other stakeholders, as well as EU policymakers, including MEPs from across the institutional spectrum. And during that event, they discussed how to achieve real policy change for Roma rights through the opportunities offered by the social economy enterprise and organisation models. And we also produced a blog, as Nick said earlier, about the impressive stories from this event. So please go find out more, because I think you will genuinely be impressed with what's happening from this event.
That's great. And Victor, can I pass on to you for the final intergroup event of the year? So I'll leave the word to you.
Yes, on the 27th of November, we, in the framework of the European Social Economy Summit, the European Social Economy Summit did a 2 days event. It was actually also the original date of the actual Social Economy Summit that was going to take place in the German city of Mannheim and during this German presidency of the Council of the European Union. But that physical event was postponed, of course, to May 2021, and a 2 days event was organized on the very important topic of the recovery of the European Union. On the second day, we had a quite interesting event after what you, Nicholas, very well described as a very charged month, very hectic month. But we had this event basically with the representatives of the governments of Spain and France. So it was Maravillas Espín, and the French State Secretary for Social and Solidarity Economy, Mrs. Olivia Grégoire. The event was presented and moderated by the co-chair of the Social Economy Intergroup and MEP Sven Giegold, one key ally of Social Economy Europe, which we have to thank all the time, because he invests a lot of he's a busy policymaker. He's also a very wise, enlightening policymaker, we have to recognize, and he invests a lot of his time. He's really engaged with the social economy community. He really believes in the social economy community as a solution to many of today's problems: housing issues, inequality issues, renewable energy transition, collective entrepreneurship, decent jobs. So he really believes in engaged social protection for all. So he really believes in and of course inclusion, which is a major inclusion and cohesion, which is a major contribution of the social economy. So he really believes in the social economy, and he presented and moderated that event. And from Social Economy Europe side, we had 3 representatives who were present: Juan Antonio Pedreño, who talked about our position for this recovery effort, was what I just described a minute ago. We also had Jérôme Sadier, who is our vice president and the president of our French member, the French Chamber of Social and Solidarity Economy. And he more or less presented the situation in France and his very successful contacts with the French government to ensure the support to social economy enterprises under the recovery effort. Congratulations to the French social economy sector. There is still a lot of issues, but they have gone a long way in improving the access of social economy to the recovery effort. And Valerio Perirossi, who represents the National Third Sector Forum of Italy, and who also did a very nice presentation of what they are doing in Italy to ensure that social economy and that the third sector in particular is not left behind, and can also the caring economy. Third sector, colleagues, is a major player in the caring economy in Italy, but major, I mean, with capital letters. And we need to, it is pretty obvious, isn't it, that we need to reform the caring economy, that carers, essential workers, cannot be underpaid, which they are. Maybe not in Sweden, I don't know, maybe not in Nordic countries, but in most European countries, they are underpaid. And also we have to improve the service. We just have to improve the service, and we just need to invest more, because demography is changing in the European Union, and we need to adapt to that with technology and so on. So he did a beautiful presentation on what they are asking the Italian government to do. Nice event, and we will provide a report of it, by the way, Nick, very soon. Maybe not before the release of this podcast, but maybe right after.
Fantastic, good to know. Well, I will always update the description of the podcast whenever we have that in, so keep your eyes peeled, guys. Now, we are coming to a close now, but what's really important, and I'm going to pass over to Ali, since she mentioned this as one of her passions and she knows so much about it. It's amazing. So Ali, can you explain to us what happened with the best practices guide in December?
Yeah, so now we're really up to date. We've got ourselves to December, but this month really hasn't slowed down. You know, when we look at all the things that has happened as well. So at the beginning, we published an important best practice guide, which is really close to my heart. On the 3rd of December, which is International Day of People with Disabilities, the Social Economy Europe released the best practice guide on social economy for the full inclusion of people with disabilities. So this guide, which is supported by the Once Foundation through the European Social Fund, highlights 12 great examples of how social economy enterprises contribute to the social and labour integration of people with disabilities across the European Union. This is really important for us as it truly demonstrates the way social economy leaves no one behind, providing information on not only why we should work for full inclusion for all, but how as well. As many listening to this will be aware, social economy enterprises employ up to 3 times more people with disabilities than traditional enterprises. And this guide is one of several initiatives undertaken by the Social Economy and Disability Working Group of Social Economy Europe, and an initiative of the European Foundation Centre and its member, Once Foundation, in cooperation with various social economy members. The publication emphasises the potential to generate work opportunities for over 100 million people with disabilities living in the EU, and underlines that in a range of underlines examples, or actually provides examples of a range of these from different EU countries. And we also created blogs on this written by Nick and I, which you can also find in the description, along with the link for the publication on our webpage. But there's one other thing that I think for this publication as well, because it not only I think makes the UNCRPD and also the SDGs. It includes very much information on this. And there's one thing I would just like to find out, just to point out. And I didn't realise this when I before I came to Belgium. It was one of the things I actually identified being here. The CRPD is unique among international human rights treaties, as it allows regional integration organisations like the EU to become parties to the treaty. And I don't know any other treaty that does that. And this means in the application of all aspects of EU law, obligations of the CRPD have to be upheld. So it's really quite unique as well, I think, and with the EU signing this document, as a party to this treaty. It really does make me feel that there's going to be a really big movement, a really big solidarity movement for people with disabilities in the EU, especially when the EU is behind it in this way.
Very important, yeah, and the guide is extremely clear. It tells us not only why, but how these things happen, and how to have the full inclusion of people with disabilities into your business. And it's for everybody. It's not just for the social economy. It's for every type of business. Can just read that, and it basically gives you an opportunity to contact those people that have the good practices to find out more. So really, really key document from this year.
Yeah, I think Nick as well. Just to also add that one of the things I've found from the social economy is that the sharing, the partnership, that we want you to learn more about us, and this is how we do it. Take the good practice, adapt it to suit your own workspace. And I think that's one of the things that you can take these 12 examples and really make them your own.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Better myself. Fantastic. Now, Victor mentioned earlier that on the 4th of December was this important Toledo event. So we won't go into detail about that now because it's at the beginning of the podcast. But I am going to pass over to Victor to tell us about our new partnerships and MOUs that we've just signed. So Victor, let us know.
So yeah, at this very end of the year, in our last board of directors, which was held on the 12th of December in Brussels, if I am not wrong, we did approve one partnership agreement and one MOU. The partnership agreement was with SOGA Europe, which is the Social Good Accelerator. It is an organization, a social economy organization formed by other social economy organizations engaged in supporting every social economy company every social economy organization, including any association, in the digital transition, supporting them with resources, supporting them with the specific programs, and also making some advocacy and making clear that the social economy can develop alternative business models in this platform economy and digital economy, and we just need to be supported and recognized by our own characteristics. What Ali just mentioned, the strawberry model. The social economy, it's not always about concentrating the market with one single player, but replicating one idea and then building partnerships, sharing, making economies of scales by building partnerships, by intercooperating, which is one of the principles of the co-op movement, by the way. So very important agreement with Soga Europe, and then a very important MOU also after the American elections of this year with ASBC, which is the American Sustainable Business Council. So right after these USA elections, which were very important for all the world, we signed this MOU. To work together on transatlantic relations and social economy, work together on COVID-19 recovery, work together on socially responsible public procurement, and on the green deals that both Europe has already presented and the new American administration will present soon. So a nice alliance with a diversity of business actors, most of them from the social economy, cooperatives, associations, and other social enterprises, and others which are just really engaged sustainable business and really socially responsible business to work together on topics of common interest.
Fantastic. And again, I will link some of these things in the description so you can visit their websites and you can find out more. Now, I think, Victor, in the name of time, I think we should leave the word with you for the future. Let's find out what are we looking forward to next year? What's important? Is it going to be better than this year? Tell me now, is COVID going to be over?
I don't know. I really hope so. I mean, we've got some good news, isn't it, with the vaccines, and then also some bad news in the last days. But I am sure, what I am confident is that we will overcome. We are the human beings, no? We are the human race, capable of the best and of the worst, but also capable of the best. With a collective intelligence which is impressive, with a curiosity, natural curiosity as a species that makes us research and find solutions to our problems. So I really hope that we will overcome this. Next year will be in any case a special year for us with the adoption of the European Action Plan for the Social Economy in the fourth trimester of 2021. So at the end of 2021, October, November, we will have this action plan published, an action plan for which we have worked since 2014. So it gives a sense to all the work that we have done, and it will be a year to rethink. It always happens when crises come, no? That we rethink and that we want to change things. What is important is that some of the conclusions that we draw in this 2020 are not left in the bin to a certain extent. That we really implement them. No, that if we want to build back, if we want to rethink and do things in another way, we really have to follow that path. We all have some historic memory. In the 2008 crisis, similar debates were held, reforming capitalism, tackling inequalities, little concrete results. So I really hope that as a collective, as a human species, policymakers, citizens, we will really take this crisis that has been terrible in loss of lives, terrible in socio-economic impact, but we really take some of the lessons to act together and to change some of the things that just weren't working. We cannot go back to the old normal. We cannot go back to pollute the world and to accelerate climate change and destroy our common house. We cannot go back to rising inequalities that put our democracies into tension, put our societies into tension, and just generate disaster, exclusion, angriness, and the political expression of angriness, which is extremism. So yeah, we have quite a lot to do. I am positive about it, and above all, guys, my last message is a big thank you. A big thank to you both, Ali and Nick, and also to everyone else that worked in Social Economy Europe in this year. Of course, very big thank to the owners of Social Economy Europe, to the social economy movement, to our members, to our leaders, to our president and our vice president, which are leading this organization, and to everyone who contributed to this project in 2020. I had the names here, but basically, as I said before, starting with you guys, also our colleague Jessica Fiorelli, who did a lot in this year 2020, Laura Gaforio, a volunteer that played together with Jessica a key role in the survey that on the impact of COVID-19 crisis on the social economy, and also played a key role in the video together with Stanti, the video with all social economy members, and also Jeep Lensen and Delia Postiglione. So that's it from my side, Nick.
Brilliant. Well, that basically concludes the year, and we've had some positive messages from Victor for next year. I want to say a massive thank you to you both as well, especially to Victor for giving me the opportunity at Social Economy Europe. So that's really, it's been fantastic for me, and I cannot wait for next year to really hit the ground running and get these initiatives that we've started this year, really to launch them and get them further, and focus in my end on policy as well, which I'm really looking forward to. And I also want to say thank you to Ali. You've been a fantastic colleague and a great mentor as well, I have to say, while I've been starting my journey as well. So I really, really appreciate that, and your knowledge and positivity, and I love your voice as well. I've told you that a million times. So I can't wait for the next podcast episode where you're going to be, you've already recorded it, and you're going to be joining us to discuss the guide, and really your role is to help us understand the difference between accessibility and inclusion. So that's exciting. So Ali, I'll just let you say goodbye as well, but from my side, thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, thank you. You're both so kind. I've loved working with you guys. I've loved working with the team at Social Economy Europe. And what I didn't mention at the beginning was, I've come in knowing very little about the social economy and learned so much. It's been a fast track learning curve, but I've loved it. I've loved every minute of it. And I'm really always going to have a piece of my heart is social economy is going to be in my heart because of you two, because of how you've allowed me to learn in this process. So thank you again. I've loved my volunteering with social economy. And I do want to continue, in any way I can to support the organization and the social economy movement. So I'll be on social media, following you guys and following the other members as well, which I've, really connected with. So it's just been great. And what a great way to end the year by doing this summary as well. It's been fun. So thank you.
Brilliant.
Merry Christmas, colleagues. Huh?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody listening. If you're still listening, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. And have a great winter holiday, a winter break, and a fantastic new year. We will see you live and kicking in 2021. As Ali mentioned, please like us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube, follow us on, we have a big presence on Facebook, and we're getting bigger on LinkedIn as well. And Instagram is always improving too. So please, we're on a kick to get to 6,000 followers on Twitter before 2021. We are 65 people behind, so we just need 65 people to spread the word. And this will also be available, excuse me, on Spotify as an audio version, although you won't have any of the visuals. But all the links will be in the description there. It's available on our website podcast page. So that's fantastic. And I'm going to say goodbye. So see you in 2021.
This podcast is brought to you by Social Economy Europe.